reaching out to more people, academic exchanges, and the possibility of studying abroad in any of the three countries represented here by three heads of state are outcomes of our trilateral agreements. I believe that we are all aware of how the reactions are of what happened in the UK, and there is still uncertainty. The outcome of the referendum is uncertain. But when someone values what you had, then is when we see such reactions. So we are here trying to innovate, to be more competitive. Why? Because we are competitors, yes, but we have complementary economies, and that would give more development to our societies. I believe that this is the main goal of our efforts. The agreements made here are not only agreements made by three heads of state. We are building roads. We're building the foundations so that our societies can have strong foundations and go further. And that makes a great contrast when some other countries choose isolationism, they choose protectionistic measures, and they are not letting their societies project themselves to other kinds of scenarios.
Well, let me make a couple of points. First of all, the integration of national economies into a global economy, that's here. That's done. And so the question is not whether or not there's going to be an international global economy. There is one. Technology, travel, massive cargo containers that can ship goods back and forth, the fact that a company can move capital around the world in the blink of an eye, the fact that an engineer can send plans to the other side of the world in an instant to a colleague. Those are facts. So we have an integrated economy already. The question is, under what terms are we going to shape that economy? And it is my firm belief that making sure that how we trade, how we exchange goods, it is my firm belief that shaping those in accordance with the values that our three countries care deeply about is going to be good for us. And us trying to abandon the field and pull up the drawbridge around us is going to be bad for us. Now, with respect to Brexit, I think it's important to point out that those who argued about leaving the European Union are the same folks who the very next day are insisting, don't worry, we're still going to have access to the single market. So apparently their argument was not against trade generally, they just didn't want any obligations to go with the access to the free market. And it's important for us not to draw easy analogies between what happened in the UK and the EU versus what's happening between our three countries in terms of trade, or what's happening in terms of us attempting to access Asian markets through TPP. That's point number one. Point number two. Ordinary people who have concerns about trade have a legitimate gripe about globalization. Because the fact is that as the global economy is integrated, what we've seen are trend lines across the advanced economies of growing inequality and stagnant wages, and a smaller and smaller share of overall productivity and growth going to workers, and a larger portion going to the top 1%. And that's a real problem, because if that continues, the social cohesion and political consensus needed for liberal market economies starts breaking down. So they're right to be concerned about that. I'm concerned about it, Justin's concerned about it, and Enrique's concerned about it. The question is, what do you do about it? And the prescription of withdrawing from trade deals and focusing solely on your local market, that's the wrong medicine. First of all, because it's not feasible, because our auto plants, for example, would shut down if we didn't have access to some parts in other parts of the world. So we'd lose jobs, and the amount of disruption that would be involved would be enormous. Secondly, we'd become less efficient. Costs of our goods in our own countries would become much more expensive. And this nostalgia about an era when everybody was working in manufacturing jobs and you didn't need a college degree, and you could go in, and as long as you worked hard, you could support a family and live a middle-class life. That has been undermined far more by automation than it has been by outsourcing or the shift of jobs to low-income or low-wage countries. I mean, the steel industry is producing as much steel in the United States as it ever was. It's just it needs 1/10 of the workers that it used to. And this is why, my pushback on both the left and the right when it comes to protectionism or anti-trade arguments is, you are right to be concerned about the trends, but what you're prescribing will not work. And there's a better way of doing this. And the better way of doing it is countries like ours that have high labor standards and high environmental standards and strong protection of intellectual property and rule of law. We've got to get out there and help to shape those rules so that they work for our workers and our businesses. Because if we don't, China will write the rules, and they may not have the same regard for the values that we care about. Other countries will write the rules in ways that disadvantage our workers and our businesses. In Asia right now, there are a whole lot of tariffs that keep our products out, but because we happen to be some of the most open nations in the world, they're selling our stuff in. So we can't disengage, we got to engage more. And if we combine that with investments in education and tax policies that are fair, and making sure that college is affordable, and we're strengthening the safety net, and we're rebuilding our infrastructure, which are jobs that cannot be exported, and we're making investments in research and development, and we're building an inclusive society in which everybody's got a fair shot. That's how we're going to solve these problems. And what is absolutely true is that too many folks who've been in charge around the world have neglected that side of the equation. So we're going to keep on pushing hard to shape an international order that works for our people. But we're not going to be able to do that by cutting off trade, because that's going to make all of us poor.